know, Hyatt is a powerhouse in marketing and PR for independent musicians. She has written several books on the subject. She is a sought-after speaker in events like South by Southwest, Grammy Camp, and multiple music conferences around the world. Through her company Cyber PR, she has helped thousands of artists throughout the years with advancing their careers, music marketing, and building their fan base. So we are so excited to have her here today to teach us everything she knows, right?
Everything I can possibly teach in 30 to 40 minutes. Yes.
Yes, it's awesome. So you've written several books and you just have a new one out, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your new book and why you decided to write this one?
I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
So, this new book is called From Buzz to Bond. And it came out of watching artists and speaking to artists and experiencing everything that we're experiencing now of over 100,000 tracks a day going
Mm-hmm.
live on DSPs, which is a huge number,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that especially in the last 5 years, artists have started focusing on what I call buzz marketing,
Hmm.
and they've taken their eyes away from what I call bond marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the shortest book I've ever written. It's a very small book because it's a mindset shift book. It's not a book like a lot of my others that gets into like tools and tactics and systems. This is about the mindset of if you continue to put all of your time and energy and effort and money into buzz marketing
Mm-hmm.
and you don't focus on bonding with your fans,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to have a sustainable music career.
Yeah, because I think that's what most artists are struggling with. It's like, or the big question that everybody has is, how do we build a fan base,
Yeah,
right?
I would tell you the answer is not by spending most of your waking hours on TikTok. And it's not by throwing your money into meta ads, and it's not in playlisting,
No.
because not only does that equal fractions of pennies on the dollar earned, it
Mm-hmm.
equals dopamine hits, which can turn you into believing you have a false sense of success.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it feels great to get 100,000 plays or whatever number you got by doing playlisting, but how many real fans did that equal? And so the buzz marketing side of the house doesn't build the fan base. The bond marketing side of the house does. And so many artists come to my agency and come to me and they say, well, I have 1 million plays on YouTube, or I have 100,000 plays on my last Spotify tracks, and they can't fill a venue outside of their hometown.
Hmm.
And that is what this book aims to remedy.
Right. So, how would you do that then? I mean, people seems to equate success with numbers. So, how would you
Yeah.
transfer that into actually bonding with your fans and actually making them show up at your shows and buy your stuff?
How you build a true fan base is you first need to get micro.
Hmm.
Things like Spotify playlists and TikTok algorithms make us think macro. Thinking micro means one fan at a time. So this means literally looking at your email list or looking in your inbox if you don't yet have an email list and going, who here could be on my list that
Mm-hmm.
I haven't put on here? Who here have I had a two-way interaction with on social media? Who here in my world comes up to the merch table after I play a live show and buys something? And make sure that you have begun to capture those names, figure out how to make it so Mark Zuckerberg does not own the communication between you and your fans, or Daniel Ek, or some crazy nefarious company in China that no one really knows who even owns it. These are not great purveyors of your fan base. You need to create your own fan sanctuaries. You need to communicate regularly there, and you need to be really mindful about how you're connecting, when you're connecting, and you have to have a system that you put into place to bond with your fans. That's how you build a fan base. And it's not random. It takes thinking, and it takes systems, and it takes setting up what I call the capture buckets. How are we going to capture all the fans as they're coming towards us? And that's very much what the bond marketing portion of this book is about. It lays out a funnel that will help you think through how to capture more fans.
Yeah, so what kind of tools would you use? Would you say that email is the most important way of communicating, or do people use social media more, or what's your experience and recommendations there?
I think everybody is on social media. This is a fact. YouTube just
Hmm.
turned 20 this week. And it's incredible to think about that. And, Facebook's coming up on 18, 19. I mean, these things are now part of the fabrics of our lives.
Hmm.
But again, as we've all experienced, these platforms don't care if your fans see everything you post on them. They're kind of using us for our ability to attract eyeballs to their platforms. So you want to use platforms that are in your control, whether that's an email list. I think that is still the number one tool. And it's
Hmm.
not sexy, and it's not fun, and it's not even easy to learn how to create emails that are really good and resonate. It's not fun to set up autoresponders like for your welcome series. It's not fun to figure out how to like give away something free to get people on your email address, to get an email address out of people. But these are all things that will shift your fan base once you can begin to get them onto an email list and communicate with them regularly, consistently. You'll see a change. It doesn't have to be email. You might be younger, and I do represent quite a few young teenagers and up and coming artists that email is not part of their daily life yet. So they build text messaging lists.
Exactly.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's a powerful thing for you to build. Or if you've got a lot of video game nerds in your fan base, maybe a Discord server is going to be a place where you communicate. The whole
Hmm.
point here, though, is you need to have a place where 100% of the people that you post to could potentially see it. Of course, when you're posting, like sending an email, maybe 20 to 40% will open that email. So it's never guaranteed that everyone that signs up will see everything, but that's what consistency is for. So these tools are critical because these are the tools where once you learn how to really interact on them, then you can begin to ask for things. And asking is where making money with your music will come in.
Yeah. Do you feel like there are some artists that, when you try to present these kind of ideas, that they feel it gets too personal, or they don't want to be so personally involved with their fans? They want like that artist fan distance. Do you get
I do
pushback on that?
see. I do see that. And I think this is another reason why buzz marketing propagates, because if you go hire a digital service that's going to get you on playlists, you don't have to share anything with your fans. You just need to take your credit card out and pay for a playlist campaign. And so it's a much different lift to have to figure out what your voice is on paper, what your voice is on a text message, what your voice is when it comes to communicating with fans. It will take a different mindset. This is why this is a mindset book and not a real how-to book, because until you have your head in the game and you're ready to do this, it's not going to be easy to shift away from. Again, pressing a button and making a Facebook ad is really, really different from going, okay, what would this fan want to hear about? Or how can I thoughtfully put something together that's going to resonate?
Yeah. Um, do you feel like, or at what point in someone's career do you think it's advantageous for someone to contact a professional like you? Like what you're talking about is people doing it on their own, just one on one almost with their new fans. At what point do you think people should be ready to get a team on board or to hire someone like you?
I think that really depends on your personality.
Mm.
I speak to a lot of artists who are really powerfully able to motivate themselves to learn new things, pick up new systems, force themselves to sit in front of a computer and have two-way conversations, or they're excited about learning how to install a pixel. Then there are
Mm-hmm.
others who, I mean, we have clients that like are allergic to logging into their own MailChimp account. They just don't want to do it. That's why they have us on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on your comfort level. It also depends on, I'm a really collaborative person. Almost from the first day I started my PR firm 28 years ago, I was like in my early 20s. I knew that unless I had someone in the room with me, it wasn't going to feel fun or good.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately had an assistant that worked with me from day one because I just knew myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an investment I had to make because I wasn't making that much money at the time. And we had to grow into those roles. So knowing yourself and knowing when you're ready for that. I think if you're feeling really overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you don't have enough guidance, part of what we do is we call ourselves thinking partners. So we're not really like a traditional PR firm where we just take all your stuff and get you PR. We talk about your fan base, we talk about your voice, we talk about your brand. We write marketing plans before we roll up our sleeves and do any kind of PR or deeper marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
so you want to ask yourself, do I need a partner for that? And ask yourself really, what can you handle doing and what feels good to you versus what would you like to outsource?
Yeah. So for those that maybe are not ready to hire a professional yet, how much time do you think people should spend or expect to spend on marketing their career?
A true marketer will tell you that you have to spend more time marketing the products, the goods, the services. I hate calling art any of those categories of things. Like, this is your art, this is your expression,
Mm-hmm.
this is something you're likely called to make. We're not making diet pills or sweatshirts, we're making art. It's different. But unfortunately, I think we've all grown to understand that just because you have really, really good music doesn't necessarily mean that people will discover it. A lot of times artists will come to me and go, well, the cream rises to the top. Unfortunately, in a world where
Mm-hmm.
so many tracks are coming out every day, that's not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really about figuring out what's even going to work for you, and then making sure you have a team, a person, an assistant. There's so many ways to do this. Even working with AI can make it feel like you have a really good intern in your house and it's just a GPT giving you good feedback. And that might even feel like the next best step for you.
Yeah, because you have a lot of resources on your website that's free, in addition to all of the more in depth tools that you offer. And you do talk about AI quite a bit. So, have you found that artists have had success implementing AI in their marketing efforts? And do you have like a couple of tips off the top of your head that you would recommend, like how to use AI in such
Sure.
regards?
So first of all, I want to say I'm so grateful I don't have to talk about AI making music because that's above my pay grade and very stressful. But the good news about AI
Mm-hmm.
is it can help you with tasks that are overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
and repetitive. Like, for example, as a publicist, I often have to pitch podcasts, and I have to make sure that the podcast is in alignment with my client before I pitch them, or else I will look not like I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And so back in the day, that would mean I would have to listen to the podcast,
Mhm.
maybe more than one, take notes, think it through, remember, with the angle, write a pitch letter,
Mhm.
and then send that pitch to that podcaster. Now, with the beauty of AI, you can send links to podcasts. It will find a transcript immediately for you, summarize very quickly what kind of podcast it is, and then it will help you craft a really good pitch that's in alignment. All of that happens in minutes instead of hours. So, for tasks like this, you can
Mhm.
really shorten your time that it takes to get a result. You still have to you still have to look at the result. You still have to look at what gets returned. It might not be great. I've also found social media posting has become so much more streamlined using large language models. I use ChatGPT, but you can use Claude, you can use any of them. But if I have, say, a blog post that I've written that's extremely long, I can feed it into ChatGPT and say, do not change my tone, my voice. This is who I am. This is the thing that I wrote that I'm proud of. Please summarize this in a cheeky way or a funny way or a sarcastic way or a political way, whatever. And it will return the perfect size Facebook post, the perfect sized Instagram caption, the perfect size LinkedIn post. Again, these are things that used to take hours to do right.
Mhm.
And one thing musicians are consistently under the gun for is captioning, hashtags, making sure everything has the right amount of characters across platforms. This is where marketing tools like a chat GPT can be wildly helpful.
Yeah.
Also, titling press releases, it's like a miracle. It comes up with better titles than I ever could. Um, and again, sometimes you have to look at 10 or 12 different titles and combine them, but coming up with clever titles that will catch people's eyes and make them want to open an email is an art.
Yes.
And large language models understand that art. So it takes the pressure off you as a musician to have to also learn all that stuff.
Yeah, but it would still be important to define your own voice and to write stuff yourself so that it feels more authentic from the client's point of view, right?
There's no question. So we always say this, and I said this in the first AI course I taught over a year ago, garbage in is garbage out.
Mm.
So you have to be really mindful. Just like when you're bonding with your fans, you have to spend time figuring out what they like, and you can't cut that corner or else you'll just get like wooden and terrible. I mean, you can tell when you're on social media which posts were written by a bad AI return. It's very easy to spot the capital letters, the emojis, the bulleted points, and also know what the trends are and make sure that your returns don't look like a canned response from an AI tool.
So, do you have any examples of someone you've worked with and like how you set up their marketing campaigns or in what regards your guys' input helped them advance their careers?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So it's funny, people always ask me like, what's your favorite success story? And
Mm-hmm.
it's never the larger clients because they many times when artists come to us, they're already household names, and that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel like we did anything like that they didn't already do. But
Mm-hmm.
I love when a client comes to me and they haven't yet found what their voice is. They know what their voice is in their music. Let's be very clear. When people come to me, they already have their music mixed, mastered, produced, ready to go,
Mm-hmm.
but they maybe haven't thought through what their brand feels like, what their voice is going to sound like on social media, what maybe if they're making short form videos, what that's all going to unfold like. So, this is where we have a lot of fun at the foundational level. And I
Mm-hmm.
find even artists that have been making music for a long time, your brand shifts over time and you
Mm-hmm.
have to update your brand as you go. So that's a huge part of our work. And I think when an artist can walk away going, I'm really clear about who I am
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really clear about who I'm talking to, because That's the other buzz marketing nightmare, is that we think again in these macro ways, and we think anytime we get in front of any social platform or a computer or our mobile phone, there's potentially billions of people on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a empowering context to do your
Yeah.
marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So, in many cases, when I think about a success story, I think about a client walking away really sure about what their voice is. Another client success example is when I say, okay, we're going to get really serious about your email list. And this is not a fun process. We work with an artist who has had the privilege of touring the world as a side person, and she is in many people's bands, and she's a first call artist, and she knows so many
Oops.
interesting people. She's met so many interesting fans. She's worked with some of the world's most interesting artists. And I made her sit down one weekend, and she kept sending me videos. She's like, I hate you. But she went through all of her social media, all of her inboxes, all of her outboxes, all of her text messages, and she compiled an email list of 750 fans that she didn't even know she had.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 days doing that, even though it was painful, ended up shifting her entire solo career. And she now has like a battalion of fans that love her because she took all the time to do that. So, in my mind, that's a success story, that we started with an artist that had only a couple of hundred people, and now she's got over 1,000 people on her email list. So, I'm a nerd like that. I like quantifying success by, how many. If you start with zero and you leave me with 50 fans on an email list, those 50 fans could be your fans for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Sure. Yeah. Um, when it comes to, I mean, one thing is having fans and appearing to be popular. Another thing for musicians is to actually make a living out of it. And as we know, streaming doesn't really pay all that much unless you have gigantic numbers. So, have you found that in order for musicians to actually make money off their music, do you feel like gigging is important, or physical media, as in CDs or vinyl, or merch, or do you advise your clients to focus on those kinds of things?
100%. And again, this is where this buzz marketing dopamine hit stuff, you really have to have like a come to Jesus with yourself about this. Like, your album dropping, your single dropping, we're all waterfalling, so we're constantly dropping singles. This training that we've all gotten to feed the algorithm is actually antithetical to how you're going to make money as an artist, because you're working so hard to feed Daniel X billionaire machine, and you're not working hard to monetize personally. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel very encouraged that this year the new big super fan term is like back up in everyone's purview, because you have to begin to think like this. And yes, we talk to artists all the time about, hey, your release is coming, but you can do a pre-sale, and that pre-sale can go on for months. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to go on for just days before your record drops. If you're a good planner and you're releasing, let's say you have a 10-track album, you're going to release one track a month for 9 months, and then the album with a single. That's 10 months of pre-selling your album, where you
Mm-hmm.
can be asking people to pre-order vinyl, pre-order cassette tapes, pre-order CDs, pre-order cool posters that are silkscreen, pre-order, I don't know, anything. Use your imagination
Mm-hmm.
and pre-sale that stuff. And then after that, before you announce that it's streaming everywhere, you have a secondary option, which is Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm.
Bandcamp is a place where a lot of artists make money. Tens of thousands of people buy something on Bandcamp every single day. So
Mm-hmm.
that should be part of your strategy. And so, yes. But one thing I will caution, and one thing we see all the time, is artists, before they actually have a fan base, they've read too many, guru articles online, and they're like, oh, I need to have merch. And they go and they order, you know, expensive vinyl or cases of t-shirts in the wrong sizes and the wrong colors that don't resonate with their fan base, and then they just have like a garage full of stuff that they paid for. Just be really careful that when you are going to go and create merch, that you ask your fans what would they like, or you
Yeah.
really think through what that's going to look and feel like, so you don't get stuck with a trunk full of men's extra extra large t-shirts and your fan base is like, you know tiny women. That they're not, it's not going to work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very important to actually know your fans and do your best to figure out who they are, right?
Yeah, and then
Mm.
ask them like, what would you like to buy?
Yeah, and that's the way to communicate, direct communications, like have them be involved in the creation of your merch items and your stuff, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And then remember, like, people don't really buy just strict digital downloads anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
Apple Music is suffering tremendously. It's just not really the way people get music, right? We all pay a certain amount of money to Spotify for unlimited music. So artists always come to me and they're like really disappointed about their download sales. And I'm like, okay, you're selling something that people don't really want. Maybe, yes, they'll give you some money because they love you and they want to support you, but is that really something that a fan is going to feel turned on by? You have to ask yourself that.
Yeah, digital download isn't really that much different than just streaming it.
Right.
While as physical media, at least then you have something physical with artwork and liner notes and cool stuff that people can look at and hold and feel when they're interacting with it.
Yep.
Yep.
And a friend of mine who works at a major label, there was some sort of survey they did, and they found out a lot of the albums that were being purchased weren't even being purchased to play on phonographs. They were being purchased as like art. People
Yeah.
love the art and they wanted to frame it and they wanted to, like, prop it up on their fireplace or whatever. That's really interesting too, that like these are objects that aren't necessarily, because people have streaming and it's convenient and you can just say, hey Siri, play me whatever really quickly without having to walk up to a machine and put the needle on the record. But it is
Mm-hmm.
nice to have a big, beautiful souvenir of something that you love.
Yeah. And if you look at like the really big artists, they're maximizing on the souvenir part of things, like multiple releases of the same stuff, but just looks a little different. Like, oh, we have some red vinyl and some blue vinyl, but it's really the same thing. But when you've created that bond with your fans, and they feel like they really need to have everything, and you don't have to be Lady Gaga to be at that point, but when people really want to be part of everything you do, they
Yeah,
might be incentivized to even buy two versions of what is almost the same thing, right?
totally. There's no
Mm-hmm.
question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, does your company work with just anybody, or do you have some kind of audition process or
Audition, not
qualifying?
so much, but we have a selection process.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that what we do is in alignment with what you want.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people call us and they want things we don't do. Like, I don't get you a million followers on social media. I don't do large scale Spotify playlisting campaigns. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what we do. So we first want to listen for, is what we do and what we're really good at exactly in alignment with what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also listen to the music. We have to be sure that we can get behind the
Mm-hmm.
music and feel good about the music. And
Mm-hmm.
we also want to make sure that our clients' mindsets are in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked a long time in this industry, and I think it can feel very discouraging, especially if you've hired an agency that promised something that they didn't deliver, or you had an expectation that didn't come to fruition. I'm really, really careful not to, people say that I'm a little bit too brutally honest sometimes. Like, if you call me and say, I want a PR campaign because I want new fans, I might be the only publicist that says PR campaigns don't make fans. PR campaigns make reviews.
Mm-hmm.
PR campaigns make accolades. PR campaigns give you lots of other things. But PR campaign to make all kinds of new fans show up at your doorstep, that it will not do at this point in our journey around what that means. So being really honest about what the client wants and really listening for, can we deliver that thing, is a huge part of our journey to whether or not we're accepting clients.
So, what kind of mindset are you looking for? Like, what do you want your clients to, or what kind of mindset should they be in order for them to approach you, or in order for you to consider working with them?
I would say the mindset that you need to have if you want to work with us is, A, you have to understand what's happening in music right now. If you come to me and tell me that you want to sell 100,000 downloads, I will probably likely tell you that that's not going to be an easy thing to do right now. If you come to me and say, you have 500 followers on Instagram and you want to get to 1 million followers in a year, again, like this kind of mindset of like, if I have money, I will be able to jump to the front of the line and not do any work.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an ideal client for us. So mindset is key. Being reasonable about how many hours in the day you actually have. I think that's another thing that can be really confounding when you're learning about all the different things you need to do for marketing.
Mm-hmm.
If you only we talk to artists, we're like, look, you have a day job, you have a family, you're on the road and you're in a van half your day. You can't possibly be editing videos if you're driving from here to there, whatever. We have to look at your life and we have to figure out how many hours a week do you actually have to dedicate to the craft of building your fan base and marketing. And we have to be in alignment with that.
Mm-hmm.
I also love working with artists that feel there's so much information out there. I mean, scroll on any social media site and you will meet 500 music business gurus who are going to tell you that their formula is the one that works. And there's so many ways that you can spend a lot of money. My favorite and not favorite joke is like, how do you make a small fortune in the music industry? Start with a large fortune. So when that's the paradigm of like, there's so many companies and apps and things and that you could sign up for, I want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that when someone comes to us, they're really clear about what we do, what they're getting, and what their capabilities and ours are. And if we're a match, great. And if we're not, I've got 300 articles and dozens of podcasts and lots of things you can download, and come buy my book and be on my email list. And I'm psyched to have you there. But we can't work with everyone because that alignment isn't always present. And people come to us sometimes needing something else and they have to go find that something else somewhere else, which is fine.
Yeah. So, for somebody who is completely new to marketing, who doesn't have any background or basic understanding of what marketing is, and maybe feel like it's a bit of a sellout and it's not true art or whatever, what would you think is the first step they should take? I mean, where should someone start if they're like new to this? They have their new recording out, they've played a couple of shows in their hometown, they'd like to, from there, grow and play more shows and reach more fans. What's the first thing they should do?
I think the first thing you should definitely do is ask yourself, like, what do I like?
Mm-hmm.
Are you a visual person and you've got 35,000 photos in your phone? You're likely a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
If you are like super into like making videos because it's really comfortable for you to do that, short form video is going to be your superpower. If you're edgy and filling notebooks full of long handed cursive writing, maybe you want to start a blog or a newsletter that you charge for. But staying in alignment with what feels good and right to you is the first step in good marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I think people come to us all the time and, they've read that TikTok is where artists are breaking now, and they might not really want to do TikTok, but they feel like because someone said that they need to, that's not going to be in alignment. So you don't have to do it just because you've heard that it's one way. So I think that's the key to good marketing, is like, get really quiet and get really honest about like, okay, what feels good to you? Because if it feels bad,
Mm-hmm.
you're just not going to want to do it. But also know that making music and releasing music and maybe creating a really beautiful vinyl package and playing a few shows in your hometown a year and having a tight fan base of just friends and family is not a crime. It could be very fulfilling to do it that way.
Hmm.
Just because you commit something to wax does not mean you need to have a million people care. And I
Yeah.
think that's the other like major misnomer about all of this is like really do what feels good for you, or else it's gonna be buzz marketing, dopamine hit, feeling awful. And I would also say social media takes strategy, and just mindlessly posting and endlessly posting and thinking you're going to get ahead doing that. I've seen so many artists just burn out from taking that stance and feeding that exhausting beast, and it takes a toll on our mental health, and it's not a great way to spend all your time and energy and effort.
Yeah, because you can't do everything all the time. You have to kind of focus your efforts, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that. And that's the one good thing about waterfalling is like each month or each 6 weeks, whatever you choose, you can focus on something else and you don't have to do all the things all the time, which is a good thing.
Yeah, so just focus on one thing at a time and maybe choose one social media platform and just be on that one and not worry so much about the dozens of others.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. There's
Hmm.
millions, billions of people on each and every one of them.
Yeah.
So spreading yourself really thin and having a different strategy for everything is going to make you probably feel insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also each social media platform has a little different format and a different. So even if you can use the same content on each of them, you should sort of
Got to
tailor
change
it a
it.
little bit. Yeah,
Yep, no question.
and that becomes a little time consuming as well.
Hello, Chat GPT.
Yes, exactly. There you go. Take this Facebook post and make it work for Instagram.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, back to your book. Is there a way for us to link to it? And there you go. And
I'm so
to
excited. It just arrived.
yes.
It should be up to pre-save on Amazon by the time this is airing, so you can find it there. I also am selling it directly from my website at cyberprmusic.com. And it's a quick read. It's
Hmm.
only about 70 pages and lots of diagrams. And I really hope it provides a mindset shift and gives you a few tools to incorporate so that you can bond with your fans and stop feeling like you're spinning.
What's the one takeaway people will get from your book? Like the main thing, the one reason they should buy it.
I think the one reason that they should buy it is it's going to provide a new way of thinking. Even my seasoned artists have said to me, I can't believe this. Like, I had such an aha moment. And these were artists that I didn't expect. I just shared it with a bunch of people in my community, and
Hmm.
everyone that's read it at different levels of their career have come back and said, "Wow, that really made me think differently." And I that was my intention. It's like, let's shift our mindsets.
Well, Ariel, thank you so much for all this awesome information you've given us, and we're so excited to be able to share your new book with our fans and our clients. And yes, thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me. It's so wonderful to reconnect. I've known you for decades,
I
and
know.
the pleasure is all mine.
Thank you so much.